And U.S. President Donald Trump has invoked the perceived threat from Iran to declare a national security-related emergency. This will clear the sale of billions of dollars worth of weapons to Saudi Arabia and the UAE for their operations in Yemen without congressional approval. Critics describe the move as a fake emergency, including Democratic Party Senator Chris Murphy, who tweeted this: "Over and over, when Trump knows he can't win a fight in Congress, he makes up emergency powers to get what he wants. Building his wall, sabotaging Obamacare, selling arms to Saudi Arabia. This isn't how democracy works." Well, let's delve a little deeper into this and speak to Nader Hashemi now, who is director of the Center for Middle East Studies at the University of Denver. He's via Skype from there. Thank you so much, Nader, for being with us on Al Jazeera. So what's your view on this? Did Donald Trump really declare a fake emergency on Iran to sell weapons to Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest this is a fake emergency. I would point to the fact that on Tuesday of this week, the Trump administration was briefing members of Congress over recent tensions with Iran. There was no reference to an emergency, to some sort of national security crisis. But then literally 24 hours later, an emergency is invoked to justify this sale of arms. And I think it's broadly understood to be a fake emergency. And I think Senator Chris Murphy is bang on point. This is an attempt by the Trump administration to circumvent U.S. law with respect to the export of arms that demands congressional oversight.
What about the deployment of these 1,500 additional U.S. troops to the Middle East? I mean, deploying troops, even though it's not a high number, I mean, would they do that for a fake emergency?
Well, I think that's my reading is that it's a reflection of the internal policy debate in the White House. People like Iran, the hawkish Iran advisor to the president, John Bolton, wants to play tough with Iran. I suspect he wanted a much larger troop deployment. Trump personally is very reluctant to send more troops to the Middle East. As you indicated, it's unclear what 1,500 troops can actually do to make a difference. But I suspect it's trying to send a strong signal to Iran that the United States is, going to play hardball with them. Yeah,
the weapons sale are not just meant for Saudi Arabia and the UAE, but also to Jordan, interestingly. What do you think is ultimately the Trump administration's policy in the region now, in light of these perceived threats they say are coming from Iran?
Well, I think there's several things that are happening. One, there is this clear attempt to try and squeeze Iran to promote regime change in Iran. There's an internal White House battle over how to proceed. But the other element of the story here is the war in Yemen. There's a lot of outrage, a lot of anger in the United States, particularly in Congress, over the humanitarian catastrophe there, the use of American weapons to commit war crimes against Yemeni civilians. And so the Trump administration wants to support its Saudi and Emirati allies. I mean, there's a very close and intimate tie between those two countries. And the only way you can get around congressional oversight, which, wants to block these arms sales. In fact, there was a joint resolution in both houses of Congress trying to prevent these types of arms sales that was vetoed by the president. So Trump is evoking this, false threat, laying the blame on Iran, which is an easy, bogey to invoke, to get around congressional oversight, to stick to a existing policy that it's supporting the Saudi policy in Yemen, to the end, right or wrong. The United States under Trump wants to back that policy.
Nader Hashemi, very interesting to talk to you. Nader Hashemi is director of the Center for Middle East Studies at the University of Denver, joining us there from Denver. Thank you very much for your time.